Catch Me If You Can is a book published in 1980, written by Stan Reading and Frank Abagnale Jr. The story is based upon the feats of Frank Abagnale Jr., who, before 2019, committed fraud of over 2.5 million US dollars using fake checks. It all began when his family faced an economic crisis after a loan was denied to his father. This provoked them to move out of their home into a small apartment, and for his mother, this triggered an affair with one of her husband's friends, eventually turning into a divorce. It was at this moment that Frank decided to escape his home, and with which the story began.
Since that he had no funds, he decided to modify the checks and seduce a teller, but failed. On the verge of giving up, he met some pilots and flight attendants arriving at a hotel. Pretending to be a school reporter, he got info from Pan Am officials and managed to get an official pilot. He later discovered that they changed airline personnel checks to employees. Thus, he began to forge checks with a typewriter and toy airplane. He did that until one day an employee mistook him with a pilot and boarded a flight. He was well received by the flight crew. Arriving in a new city, he seduced a bank teller who told him the secrets about how are the machines working, and he acquired a machine to encode the check. At the time, the FBI discovered these fake checks and began their investigation until they found him in Los Angeles. Frank tricked him and flew the scene. In these characters, we don't appreciate the cunningness to improvise certain roles, and that he clearly was not, as he managed to pose as the pilot and deceive the FBI.
Frank, whilst filling out a lease form, he compulsively decides to become a pediatrician doctor and acts as he is currently on a leave from California and has no license in Georgia. He's offered a supervisor's role in the hospital, and so he is not required to perform many duties that a real doctor would. And so he continues his less entertaining role in his life and is left with the desire of settling down. Once his lease is up and his replacement at a hospital arrives, Frank decides to pack up and leaves as not to risk being caught.
After he leaves his practice in medicine, Frank decides to stay in a southern state and meet up with a stewardess he knew in the area. She invites him to a party where he meets Jason Wilcox, assistant state attorney, whom, intrigued in Frank's background and his claims of having a law degree, promises him that if he passes the bar examination, he would get him an interview. And so he gets to work on forging his documents, which are described thoroughly, and so was his craftsmanship and forgery. Although I enjoy such close details, it could quite easily bore the readers, who are more interested in the occurrences and the pace of the constant changes in Frank's life. But once again, he gets the job. The story advances with him making actions that gain the trust of his colleagues even though his senior hates him. Later on, a real Harvard law graduate becomes suspicious of him, and so Frank decides to leave before they found that he was a phony. He then becomes a teacher in Utah, which mentioned his past as a pilot. This part goes well, continuing the story of Frank, but the author could have separated it into another chapter, as this has nothing to do with the time as a lawyer.
It's very well written. The way the events occur, the rhythm, and how this is narrated is so involving and fascinating. The style is simple and formal, and with a constant touch of sarcasm. The style is so unique that it makes you empathize with the main character. It makes you empathize with a thief. The book touches that current of larceny that we all have in our inside. The book makes you question the morality, the sense of liberty, what is selfishness, what is happiness, and the importance of rules and laws. The book is clear, natural, and concise. My note is 8 out of 10. The only details are the deepness of the characters and the lack of details and descriptions. However, for its own gender, it's a good one. I highly recommend it. That's all. I appreciate your attention, and see you later.